Welcome back to the Max Reality. If you've seen my face before, then you know the drill, but if you're new here, I love talking all things reality TV, and last year, I decided to spend the year tracking all the different reality TV I watch, and it has finally brought us to this glorious moment where I'm going to review all the reality TV I watched in the year of our Lord, 2025. We'll start with going over my final total stats for the year. I ended up watching 82 different shows, which equaled 1,174 different episodes, which totaled me watching 59,726 minutes of reality TV. That equals a little over 41 days. Honestly, I think I could have even done better. I'm just kidding. Although I'm kind of not kidding. I had some pretty lower months than I expected. But I also had pretty high highs. Speaking of minutes watched, my highest minutes watched month, wow, that is a mouthful, was March with 7,672 minutes. Can you tell I was unemployed that month? And on that same theme, my lowest month was June with 3,572 minutes, aka like the first real month of me working at my new job. So parallels in real life all the time. My average month was in the 5,000-ish area, and I think that's very respectable. Like I've said, if you've ever seen any of my videos before, part of how I get away with watching this much TV is I am a big multitasker, and I'll admit it, some of these shows I do not remember well. I'll even say it in some of those monthly recaps, because I'll watch them while I'm doing something. I'm really big into cooking. I always watch different shows while I cook. I'm literally almost always watching TV while doing something else. Playing Sims, doing laundry, literally anything. I literally watch TV while I'm getting ready in the morning as just something to have on in the background. Like, I usually finish at least one episode of TV before I even get to work. Like, start and finish. I'm not new to this. I'm true to it. My most watched show of 2025 absolutely blew everything else out of the water. And that is because I decided to rewatch all of Food Network's Star. Some of it I hadn't seen before. A lot of it I had seen before. But I found every season I physically could. I still didn't get to see every season. Some of them are kind of hard to find. But I watched literally all of it. I just was on this kick, and it was the only thing I wanted to watch. I was so sad when I ran out of seasons to watch, and I watched a total, including Food Network Star's Comeback Kitchen, all the different Food Network stars I could get my hands on. It totaled 107 episodes, which also equaled 5,148 minutes. Think about that. That's what I was saying, like, one of my average months was, and I spent one of my average months just on Food Network Star. Incredible to me personally. I'm also just now making the realization that all three of my top most watched shows for the year are because I was kind of like rewatching stuff. For example, number 2 is The Prophet. I've been rewatching it with my partner. We've watched season 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. You might be wondering why not 2. 2 is actually one of like the best seasons of The Prophet. It's because we cannot find it. I think we found it recently, so we might be able to watch it soon. Fingers crossed. But we have been having trouble locating it. So if you have it easily and you want to tell me in the comments, let me know, because rewatching this has been such a joy. A lot of the older seasons I remember pretty well because at this point I've rewatched them more times. I saw them live, and then I've rewatched them when I was older, and now I'm rewatching them again. But now we're getting into some of the more recent seasons where I only watched it while it was live, and I've never really taken the time to go back and rewatch it. And so I'm not remembering as much, and it's making it extra fun. I love The Prophet. And then the other one, my top number 3 is Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I love Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, but for some reason, I only watched like the first 2-ish episodes of season 4, and then I just dropped it. I was just kind of like not in the mood. I don't even remember. And I was like, I'll pick it up before season 5. And then season 5 rolled around, and I was like, you know what? I'll just jump into season 5. I'll just figure it out from context clues. But finally, I was like, you know what? I watched this show. I am active in it. I need to go back. And so I have the full lore, and it was so worth it. Because I always knew, people always told me, like, oh my gosh, season 4, it's like this, like, monumental season. And now I know. Now I'm finally in the loop. So it makes sense all those are in the top 3 because they had a lot of volume to them. The other fun thing with TV, though, is that was my most watched by episodes, but if I go by minutes, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City actually isn't in the top 3 anymore because a lot of those episodes are shorter. Every now and then they'll do a long episode, and that's like 50 minutes. But by minutes watched, it's only number 6. 1 and 2 are still Food Network Star and The Prophet, but then it's Love Island USA Season 7, 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After, Season 9, and then Love is Blind, Season 8 and 9. Those are together because I watched both of them in 2025 because they release 2 seasons every year, even though maybe they shouldn't. Maybe they should reconsider that. Maybe just one. Maybe just one. If we could just get one good one instead of 2 bad ones, I'd love that. But anyway, that's why I'm so glad this year that I kept all this data. This is so fun for me. I hope it's as fun for everybody else. I love a spreadsheet. Anyway, so some fun main categories of how much time I spent watching certain things that I thought I would share with you all is number 1, I spent 4,725 minutes watching Housewives, and I don't regret a single minute of it. Beautiful show. So much time. A show I do a lot of times regret how much time I spend on it, though, is the 90 Day Fiancé franchise. I spent 5,969 minutes watching that show. And while a lot of times I do like it, a lot of times I am sitting there like, why am I watching this? And as said earlier, that is a little over, honestly. That's closer to over my average month. 90 Day Fiancé, that does have a lot of volume, though. That's kind of the issue also, though. But to complete it as a nice little compliment sandwich, someone I never regret watching, Gordon Ramsay. I spent 2,544 minutes watching his shows, and honestly, I need more. But I still just can't get into Next Level Chef. Maybe I should try it again on my own. I only tried it the first season, I only tried a couple episodes, and I was just not into it. But maybe I should try it again. I don't know. If you've seen it, let me know. So once I looked at that, I thought, you know what? I should put everything into a category because I love a category. If you've seen any of my other videos, you've heard me say that before. So the 5 categories I came up with after looking at all the shows are strategy, love, lifestyle, cooking, and business. So now I will explain my categories to you because I spent a lot of time debating with myself about these categories, so now you have to listen. But I'll make it more bearable for you than it was for me internally, personally, while I was working on all this. So we'll start with the cooking category. Easy enough. These were different cooking shows I watched. Things like MasterChef, House of Knives, Hell's Kitchen. But you might be thinking things like Kitchen Nightmares or Restaurant Startup fall into that category, but no, neither does Gordon Ramsay's Secret Service. I do not consider those necessarily cooking shows. And here's my reasoning why. When I was sitting thinking about it last night, one of my reasonings was I had like nowhere to put Shark Tank and The Prophet. So, number 1, I was trying to think of a category for them. But number 2, when I was really thinking about, especially Restaurant Startup, even more so than Kitchen Nightmares, but still, in that same vein, they're not necessarily focusing on the cooking as much. That might sound crazy, but if you really watch it, like, they're not. They're focusing a lot more on the interpersonal relationships between people. Like, yes, it's about the cooking, but, like, it's not. It's about the restaurant and the business as a whole. And I just don't really consider that a cooking show, in my mind. So, that is part of the reason, along with the Shark Tank and The Prophet, I created the business category. Again, like I've said, I've named pretty much all of the shows that are in this category. It was one of the smallest categories, but I just really didn't think those types of shows fit in anything else I was doing here. Next, I'll talk about the lifestyle category. These are things like Real Housewives, the different WAG shows I watched, Below Deck, Vanderpump Villa, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, that sort of thing, where nobody's a winner or a loser. We don't really hand out prizes in the show. We're just kind of watching as things are happening. We're watching different lifestyles. We're watching what it's like to work on a yacht / some of what it's like to be a guest on a super yacht, or like going to the villa, or what it's like to be a real housewife or a WAG or a Mormon wife or whatever. These are like the observation shows, if you get what I'm saying. Then we have the strategy category. These are things that are completely game focused. Things like The Traitors, Devil's Plan, Jeopardy Masters is in this category. Anything that's truly a game where somebody, or even if it's a couple people, that's fine too, win a prize. Next up, we're going to talk about my most controversial category, at least within myself, to the point where I literally, I was recording just now and had to stop because I started arguing with myself again about how I should have done this category or not. But I'm leaving it as is because now we're going to talk about the love category. So some people might argue, including myself, that some things like the 90 Day Fiancé universe or Poly Family, for example, should be in the lifestyle category. And maybe some things like The Bachelor and Perfect Match should be in the strategy category. But hear me out. I have this love category, and I started it out with things like The Ultimatum. Nobody wins The Ultimatum. Honestly, most people just lose The Ultimatum if we're going to be real. Same thing with Love is Blind. Nobody's winning there, especially this season. Nobody is even having a good time. But their core thing is it focuses on relationships and if a relationship is gonna work or if it's not. And that core value is what ultimately made me decide things like 90 Day Fiancé they're just not really lifestyle to me because we are watching a love story. However broadly that term can be used for 90 Day Fiancé. And same with Poly Family. We're specifically really watching a relationship. And then same thing with The Bachelor, especially because with The Bachelor, you're not winning a money prize. I mean, you are winning, you get the engagement ring, sometimes they give away some things, but the point is truly love. That's what you're supposed to be winning. Except, again, on this most recent season of Bachelor in Paradise, because they were trying to copy Love Island. But the thing is, even with Love Island, it's also in this category because while there is a money prize, who even talks about it? Most people that I know that watch, when we get to the finale, we all have forgotten that there's even a money prize. That show is just about interpersonal and romantic relationships and if they're gonna work. And that is what created the love category. So definitely let me know your thoughts about my choices about the love category. I definitely want to know because I'm going to be arguing with myself about this until next year. Honestly, this is probably going to be a battle within myself, all of tracking my shows this year. I'm going to just be sitting here like, I don't know what category you're in. But that's a future Morgan problem at this point. We'll see. We'll see. Now that you know what all the different categories are and what's going on in them, and I feel like I've spent enough time justifying all my decisions, it's time to get into all the fun things I did with them, including and starting with my fun little pie chart that breaks it out by minutes watched for the different categories. And I definitely thought my biggest portion would be cooking because of Food Network stars, and I was kind of shocked that it was love. I felt like I didn't watch as much love shows this year, and maybe this is bigger because of some of the choices I made. I don't know. That's a discussion for a different day because we've made a decision and we're moving on. However, I'm not surprised that business is the smallest percentage because it's also the smallest category. It has the fewest shows in it because it was kind of made to put together some shows that really just didn't really fit into any of the other categories in my mind personally. So, not surprised by this, but was surprised about the cooking. Very surprised. Everything else, I mean, honestly, overall, it's pretty relatively even. And I'm not surprised about it. I was trying to be kind of diversified, / I did have, like, a big chunk where I was only watching cooking shows, and I was only watching strategy shows, and I was only watching this. That kind of cycled through this year. So in years past, when I have done my year-end recap, I have spent it ranking the different shows on my beautiful scale, in my personal opinion, that at the top is perfect, no notes. Next, solid, but room for improvement. In the middle, we have great to watch while doing something else. I am an expert in this category. Then there's and lastly, it's cancel it immediately. Now, because this year I spent a lot more time aggregating different data that I haven't in the past, and because I actually know every single show I watched this year. Last year I ranked 50-something shows. This year there are 82. So instead of sitting here, because when I did that, I always do it live. Side note, I would literally decide then and there while I was filming on all of those. Doing the 50 last year, that's why that video is an hour, because I really was sitting there deciding. So I knew I couldn't do that with 83 shows and also talk about my fun little stats that I had to talk about because, of course. So instead of ranking them live individually, I went through each of them, thought about it a lot, and gave them each their ranking. And I'm going to go through the different categories and give the best and the worst of each category. But before we do that, let's talk about the overall stats for each category. So for perfect no notes, we had 24 different shows. For solid but room for improvement, there were 14. For the great to watch while doing something else, 25, the most out of all the categories. Again, although it is practically tied with perfect no notes, I'm not going to lie. I have great taste. It's not my fault I have great taste. However, then we get to where there were 13 different shows, and for cancel it immediately, only 6. And out of 82, I think that's pretty good. I think these numbers are very good. I thought about trying to even it out as much as possible, but I was like, no, I have good taste. It's not my fault I have good taste. I shouldn't punish any of these shows because they're great. It's not my fault I don't watch bad TV. That's why I make these videos, so I can share it with all of you. And by that I mean 2 people and my dad, but anyway. So to make the ranking process easier on myself, instead of calling them each of these categories, I either gave them an A, B, C, D, or F, respective to my fun little chart. So you'll probably hear me say those interchangeably, but that is what it means. First, we'll go over the business category. Since it's the smallest category, there's literally only 6 things in here. So we'll kind of briefly touch on all of them because 4 out of the 6 got a C. We had no A's in this category. We had 1 B, 1 D, and 4 C's. So first I'll give my little spiel that I usually give when I'm talking about ranking these business type shows. I am just talking about the show itself, the structure of it, if it's entertaining, not if they actually helped the business, if the business is doing well. None of that is involved in these rankings. So coming in as the best of the best in the business category is The Profit. I love The Profit. It was one of my favorite shows when it was out, and I still think, going back and especially watching these older seasons, I just think it's one of the best types of these shows. The format is really good. It's entertaining. I think it's really great. I didn't give it an A because there are some things I would change if I could go back in time and change The Profit. So I didn't want to give it an A. And again, I was trying to be as impartial as possible. I was trying to just think about the show, not look at other ratings unless they kind of applied to each other. We'll talk about that later. But for the most part, I was trying to just grade the show individually. And it got a B, and I think that's fair. Although, now I kind of regret giving its counterpart, The Fixer, a C. Part of me is like, maybe it should get lower. But it is a good show. I'm being a little dramatic. It's just when you compare the two, The Fixer just doesn't give what The Profit gives. I'm glad The Fixer came about because it's part of why my fiance and I decided to rewatch The Profit. Well, he's not rewatching it. It's his first time watching it, and I'm getting to experience that. It's fantastic. But it's just not as good. It's like what I've talked about with Kitchen Nightmares before. The original Gordon Ramsay Kitchen Nightmares is so much better than the new stuff. While the new stuff is getting better and they're trying to fix things, it's just never going to be Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. I wish it would, but it hasn't been yet. On that same note of Gordon Ramsay, unfortunately, the bottom of this category was Gordon Ramsay's Secret Service. It's pretty much the copycat of Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares, but it's not as good. So it couldn't be in that great to watch while doing something else category. I just didn't think it was fair, honestly, because it's just not as good. Unfortunately, I love camp. I love that it's really campy, but Kitchen Nightmares was already on thin ice, and so for them to do this, unfortunately, it makes it a Since this category is so small anyway, I'll just kind of run through the other shows and some quick thoughts, especially because one of them is Shark Tank, which is a main thing on this channel. At one point, I was recapping each individual episode, but Shark Tank, as you can see, season 16 and 17 is in the C category, great to watch while doing something else. And honestly, that's just kind of how it's felt lately. It's just kind of, and at one point I was going to do the recaps of groupings of episodes, but if you're wondering and you're here, I've decided I'm just going to do a year-end video with Shark Tank, because it's just not doing it like it was. And I just think it deserves just the year end. And hopefully that video will be super great. I want to go really into detail like this one with all the data, but that's for a later date. Right now we gotta keep going on 2025. Also in this middle category, Kitchen Nightmares Season 2. I thought it was a lot better than Season 1, mostly just because the interior design was better. I complained about this so much with the reboot of Kitchen Nightmares last season, the Season 1. Oh, the interior design was so bad, but it was so much better this season that it improved the show. Also in this category, like I talked about earlier, The Fixer, the new version of The Prophet, basically. And then Restaurant Startup, which was a show that had Joe from MasterChef, and then Curtis Stone was the other guy. And two restaurants would come in and they'd be like competing for one of them to, or both of them, one or both. They always made a big deal about that, to try to invest in their business. And they would pick one of the two businesses to get to run like a little pop-up. And if the pop-up went well, like I said, one or both would invest. It was different. It was fun though. It was fun to watch while doing something else. It was entertaining, but not like the world's best. Next up, we'll go over the strategy category. Out of the 19 shows that I watched, 7 of them were A's. So, I mean, it was a pretty good category. I love strategy shows. So out of those A's, though, I would definitely say my number one favorite show that I watched in the strategy category had to be Devil's Plan. It was so good. I've only seen season 1. There are 2 seasons of it. I'm just not emotionally prepared yet to watch it and then have it end and not have something else to watch. So I haven't seen season 2 yet, but that's not its fault. The Devil's Plan is the show I think about definitely the most. I think about it probably once a week. Maybe a little less since I've been away from it. Maybe like every 2 weeks. But it was such a perfect show. I can't sit here and explain it forever. I'll link the show where I talk about it the most, like the episode I'm talking about it the most, where I break it down as much as possible, because it's so complicated. But that's part of what makes it so good. I implore you to go watch it. It is in Korean, but there is a dubbing. I think the dub actors are really fun to watch. Some people don't really like it. It's viewer discretion. Whatever you want to do. Or you can read the subtitles. That's always also an option. But as discussed earlier, I'm usually doing something else. So I opt for all the dubbed of the foreign Netflix shows. Truly though, it's a standout category. Some other honorable mentions are House of Villains. I watched season 1 and season 2 in 2025. I can't believe I didn't watch it sooner. Truly regret that I took so long to watch it. Then of course the Traitors, the new episodes released today. While I'm recording this, I can't wait to watch them. It's an all-time favorite of mine. Destination X was a new show, and it got an A. I was super into it. I thought it was a really fun time. They took all these people around, mostly Europe, I feel like, and they would take them to a place, and they had to kind of figure out where they were with puzzles. Great time. Definitely recommend it. Overall, the strategy category was a great time. Proud of all my choices here. Editing Morgan here. I ended up going over all the shows that were within each category and their rankings, but I didn't do it for this one and I forgot to go back and film it. So the other not mentioned A-level shows that were in the strategy category are Jeopardy Masters Season 3. I love Jeopardy Masters. I'm not a huge regular watcher of Jeopardy, but I am dedicated to Jeopardy Masters. Then a show called Summer Job from Netflix. It took all these like very privileged kids. I think it was an Italian show, and forced them to work all these jobs. They were competing. It was fantastic. 10 out of 10. I had such a good time. And then last, but definitely not least in my heart, is Deal or No Deal Island Season 2. I love Deal or No Deal Island. If anybody's seen any of my other videos, I adore this show, and it seems like they're not getting a Season 3, and I'm absolutely heartbroken about it. But those are the rest of the A's in the strategy category. That's kind of a lie. I do have some regret in this category, and that is our worst of the worst. The only thing that got an F in this category, The Floor Season 3. In 2025, I only watched 4 episodes of The Floor. There have been more. Season 4 has happened. Season 4 might have even ended. I don't know. I stopped watching it. I do not like that show anymore. It's very annoying because I like the concept of The Floor, but I just think the execution of all the gameplays needs to be fixed. And what frustrates me more is I don't even necessarily know how, but I just know when I'm watching it, something is broken in the game mechanics I'm watching, because at the end of the 2 seasons I did watch, I just felt no justification for watching it. When you're watching these strategy shows, you want somebody to win. You're rooting for them. You either get really excited or you're really sad. There's something building the whole time. And in the floor, that falls apart a lot just because of how the game is formatted and the way they have like the little one-on-one battles. Somebody who hasn't even battled can win. That practically happened season 1. And so it just doesn't have that same that I want from a strategy show. Now for a quick rundown of the rest of the category. In the B's, we have Stranded with My Mother-in-Law season 1 and 2. Just started season 3, it's in the B's because it's a fun time, but it just didn't quite make it. Along in that same note, we have Insiders, season 1, season 2. I personally really like it, but part of why it gets a B is because I don't really recommend it to a lot of people, and I feel like that makes a knock in it. You can argue with me all you want. Along with that, we have The Influencer season 1, a Korean show. I liked it, just wasn't quite star power. Then the last one in the B category is On Brand with Jimmy Fallon. That show would have been an A if Jimmy Fallon's not in it. He just does not do any favors to that show, honestly. I feel like if he just dialed it back even, it would just do better. It's just too much Jimmy. I'm not even a Jimmy hater. It's just too much. He needs to back it up. We have 3 in the C. Great to watch while doing something else. $1 Million Secret. Fun. Fine. Same vein, The Snake. Then Got to Get Out. It just had too many problems. It was going to be a B, but there were too many things that I just feel like need tweaking in the overall structure, so that knocked it down into our Great to Watch While Doing Something Else category. And then last in the D category, first off we have Dog Eat Dog season 1 and 2. It's an older show. It's mostly here because we could just never make this show again. Like, maybe for the time, different rating I would give it, but watching it now and thinking about it now, I'm just like, we could never make this show again. So unfortunately, I felt like I had to put it in D. Then we have Battle Camp. It was a show from Netflix, had a bunch of Netflix stars competing in games against each other, whatever. The formatting was so bad. The casting was so good, but the formatting was horrific. And I just, by the end of it, I just did not like it at all. That show needs to be completely redone. On the opposite end of that, we have Extracted season 1. I really liked the formatting, but the casting was terrible. They casted so many people that like had never been in the woods, and then like 3 that had, and I don't know, all the dynamics were really off. I think the show would do better if you just had people who actually were wanting to be in the woods and had some practice and experience, because casting these people who just like quit immediately, boring. No fun. When people are crying who aren't even the people in the woods, they're just in the cushy camp and can't deal with the mind games, can't handle that. And the last one, and arguably least, I guess, because it's last, and a D category, is Don't Hate the Player. This is a French show I've talked about, and I mean, it was just at the end of the day. Next, we'll go through the lifestyle shows. This is what I was talking about earlier, where I was saying there was some times where I was taking kind of categories of shows and putting them against each other to do the rankings. This is mostly where that was happening. I did take the grouping of Real Housewives shows. I took the Below Deck series, kind of put those together and tried to even out some rankings because I just feel like that was a good way to rank those too. Aside from just wanting to make it even, it kind of helped me think about how I felt about each of them, because sometimes they can kind of start to blur together if it's like thinking of the Real Housewives overall, and having to pit them against each other helped me give them their own each individual unique rating. On that note though, there were only 3 A's in this category, and 2 of them were Housewives, and those were Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. This year in 2025, I watched season 5, season 6, and season 4. I have not completed season 6 yet, and it was just the ending of season 5, but just so funny to me that I hit 3 seasons, and overall, it's been a great time. That's why I wanted to watch season 4. I was wanting more. I was having a good time. Glad I did it. Real Housewives of Potomac, I just feel like it's been really good lately. I have been excited every week when it comes up. I've been sad if they were on a break for like the holidays or whatever. It's really been that girl for me. And then the last show that got an A in this category was Below Deck Mediterranean. It's the one that's airing right now, and personally, I am glued to it every week. I am waiting for Below Deck Mediterranean. I personally love Captain Sandy. I have her book back there somewhere. I love her. Aisha's one of my favorite chief stews of all time, and I am having a great time, personally. I do think Below Deck Down Under, that will be coming out soon, will blow it out of the water, but that's okay. That's what we want. We want bigger and better all the time. Editing Morgan back again. I don't know how I messed this up, but there are actually 4 shows that got A's in the lifestyle category. The one I missed was Wags Atlanta. It was my all-time favorite out of the different WAG style shows that I watched this year because I watched way too many. It only had 1 season. It made me so sad because, like, Wags LA had 3, Wags Miami had 2, and this one being my favorite and only having 1 felt rude to me personally. Moving on. And the worst of this category, the 1F, was Second Wives Club. This was an older show. Same thing as Real Housewives, just a show called Second Wives Club. This is the same. Last time I talked about it too, that's how I started, I'm pretty sure. It just wasn't very good. I've never recommended it, kind of forgot it existed until I was doing all this. Just not very good. Did it pass some time for me? Yes. Do I think you should go find it if you have anything better to do? No. Now for a quick rundown of all the middle contenders in our B, solid but room for improvement category. We have Wags LA. I've watched a bunch of WAG theme shows. If you don't know what that is, that's wives and girlfriends of superstar athlete type guys. And it's the same thing as Real Housewives, except they are wives and girlfriends of athletes. So we had a show called Wags LA. Also in the B category, Real Housewives of Atlanta. It was there, but it wasn't, I don't know, the reboot's happening and I don't know, lots of feelings about it all. Then we have Married to Medicine. Again, it's good, but it's not where it was at one point for me. At one point this was an A show and it's just fallen a little lately. Then we have Below Deck, just the OG normal one. Again, just same thing, B. And last in the B category, we have Wags to Riches. It was on Netflix. It was fine. Just not there for an A. Next up, we're in the great to watch while doing something else category, and that's just because all of these shows, while I had a good time watching them, it's not like I was necessarily glued to them every week. I wasn't waiting for them to come out. When they came out, I was happy, but take it or leave it kind of sort of thing. But not leave it completely. Just, leave it for a couple weeks. Catch up on it later. And in this category, we have things like The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, although I do think this time next year, that will be way higher. Season 15 has been fantastic so far, but it just couldn't make up for Season 14 just not doing it for me. Next in this category as well, we have Wags Miami. Again, watched a lot of Wags shows, was really into it at one point. When I find something I'm into, I'm like, show me every show like this. Then we have Below Deck Down Under. Well, I think it's going to be a lot better this season. Last season just wasn't doing it for me. Vanderpump Villa, again, same thing. And Wife Swap, the Real Housewives edition. This is one I do recommend, but again, I just wasn't like glued to it. Although if you like Real Housewives, I 100% recommend watching this 4-part little special episode thing they did. It was such a fun time. And last, the only D is Below Deck Sailing Yacht, Season 5. And if you saw it, I don't have to explain myself. And if you haven't seen it, good for you. Don't. It just really didn't do it for me. Next up, we have cooking, and similar to strategy shows, lots of winners in this category. It also, like I was saying with strategy, could be because this is a top tier contender of strategies for me. I love cooking shows. They're my comfort shows. They're just, fantastic. But lots of winners here. I do have to admit though, and I'm sure this will not surprise you if you've made it this far in the video, my top contender for the cooking category was Food Network Stars. It just combines all the different things I love. It has the cooking aspect. It kind of has like a business aspect when you're like considering what it takes to be a Food Network star and make yourself a brand. And I don't know, I just have a really special place in my heart for it. And rewatching it, I was just like, please, let's bring it back. You get too many Food Network stars. Sure, whatever. Maybe don't give him a show. Give him something else. I don't know. I loved the format of this show, though, and I'd do anything to bring it back. I just think it's so much fun. Again, this category was a big winner, so our other A's were Worst Cooks in America. I watched Season 27, Season 28, and I started Season 29. I did not finish it. I kind of forgot I was watching it. But I love Worst Cooks in America. I have already started the new season that came out. I miss Anne Burrell, but I still love the show. It's a great time. Then Great Food Truck Race, no notes. Fantastic. Wildcard Kitchen, I watched season 1 and season 2. Season 3 just came out. I'm so excited. Top tier show. 24 and 24, Last Chef Standing. Again, no notes. Such a good time. Bake Squad, season 1 and season 2. Don't know if a season 3 is in the works, but I hope it is, because again, just so good. And last but never least, with the A's, perfect no notes, House of Knives. I loved it. Was waiting for it every single week. And worst of the worst, yet again, the only F in the category is Yes Chef. This was a show on, I think, Netflix. See, when I talked about it in its monthly review, whenever that was, the thing with this one is, I did not pay attention to the show. And I don't know if that's the show's fault or if I was just so wrapped up in what I was doing that I didn't pay attention. But I am personally blaming it on the show. There one day I'll go back and rewatch it and I'll redact all of this. But I just feel like if the show was good enough, it would have caught my attention. Because like I talked about then, there are times where I'll start a show and I'm in the middle of a project and I realize the show is too good and I can't watch it while I'm doing that project. And I will put it on pause and watch like a YouTube video or literally something else and get back to the TV show later. I did not do it with this show, so it must not have been good enough. And that's why I got an F, because I don't even remember watching it, honestly. I had to go back and watch the monthly video of me talking about it to get any recollection of it. And when I watched that video and heard myself being like, I don't remember any of it, I was like, it all makes sense now. F. First are B's, MasterChef Season 15. One thing I want to point out about this is while it's a B, last year it was cancel it immediately. It was F. So for it to be a B this year, it has gotten so much better. Adding Tiffany has just been, it was so good. It was so much better than it's been in the past. Does it still need some improvement? Yes, but I was just startled by the night and day difference. So I felt like I had to give it its own little shout out. The only other B we had was Next Gen Chef. This was a Netflix show, I'm pretty sure. It was fun. I remember having a good time, but thinking like, just not A material. In the great to watch while doing something else. Same with all the other categories, just not quite getting me there. One is Holiday Baking Championship, and part of why that one is there is because it's my go-to show for setting up Christmas decorations, so part of it's not its fault, but it's never a show where I'm like, I gotta stop. I have to stop what I'm doing to watch it. Along those same lines, Hell's Kitchen, I love it, but it's just, I don't know. I would have given it a B, but the whole category thing they did this year with like making it the Battle of the States pissed me off and made me rank it down to a C. Next up in that category, we have Chef Grudge Match. Just a fine show. Whatever. I do recommend it. Then Sugar Rush Christmas. Again, one of those I'll watch while like putting up Christmas decorations or that sort of thing. And last, but not necessarily least, Wall of Chefs. Again, good shows, just, not Jones in form all the time. Editing Morgan back once again. I accidentally labeled this next show as cooking when it was really supposed to be lifestyle. It's the show Next Gen NYC, which is very similar to a show I just talked about called Next Gen Chef. I guess I was just going too fast and labeled it wrong. And when I was filming these, I was so focused on the show, I'd forget what category I was even in. And that's where we are. We're going to continue to try to strive for better in 2026, but I'm just going to leave this here. Just know it should have been in the lifestyle category, and this means that the cooking category had no level shows, so, good for it. And last, we only had one and that was Next Gen NYC. It was I almost want to call it a spin-off of The Real Housewives, but I don't think they would call it that. It's a lot of Real Housewives kids who live in New York, and then some other affluent kids. I say kids. They're like early 20s. And it was just, no more words, just And last, but definitely not least, we have the love category. And for my very best of the best, I have to give it to The Ultimatum, South Africa. That cast was fantastic. I already loved The Ultimatum. I loved the setup. The normal Ultimatum, just the plain American version. But Ultimatum Queer Love, great. But Ultimatum South Africa, that's the best iteration of the show I've seen, and just, I could not stop thinking about it. After it ended, I was so sad. It was such a fun time. It was unexplainably good. If you've never seen The Ultimatum, start with it. It's so good. Like, just 10 out of 10. Our other A's in the category include Love Island USA Season 7. I loved Alandria. I loved the cast. I had a great time watching Love Island USA Season 7. I got to go to a couple watch parties. Just overall great time. Then we have 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After. I thought this was a great season of that show. 90 Day Fiancé almost never gets an A when I'm ranking stuff like this in my head. So that season, I was on the edge of my seat waiting for every single episode. Then we have the new Temptation Island. I was really surprised. Part of why I got an A is because I thought it would be so much worse, because sometimes just reboots don't do it. But I felt like it really did it. I personally was very pleased. Then we have the Ultimatum Queer Love Season 2. Fantastic. No notes. And last, again, but certainly not least, in the A's of this category, Love Never Lies Poland Season 3. When I saw Season 3 came out, and it came out earlier than I was expecting it to, you can't imagine the joy I felt, and it did not disappoint. Excellent show. A's overall. Applause. We did have some rather low lows, though, with 3 F's in the category, and it was hard for me to pick, because within these, I do have one show that I stopped and, didn't finish, even though it's, actively still going. And while I didn't finish it, I still don't think it's worse than this show, which is Golden Bachelor Season 2. I actively had a bad time watching it. I literally would make sure it was the show that I was watching while I was doing something else. I was like, what show should I save for, when I'm doing, a bunch of stuff where I'm going to be barely paying attention to the TV? And that's when I would watch this. It was just not good. 90 Day Diaries is the other show I'm talking about in this F category. And while it's not good and I didn't like it, I arguably think it's better. And the other F in this category is Are You My First? So many things were wrong with that show. It just didn't work, in my personal opinion. It was not a good time to watch. And all of these, in my personal opinion, deserve to cancel it immediately. Our quick rundown of our middle contenders. We only had 2 Bs. They were both 90 Day Fiancé shows. We had 90 Day Fiancé Last Resort Season 2. Keep in mind, Season 1, I think was cancel it immediately. If it wasn't, it was very low. This one was a lot better, but still, just not an A+. And then 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way. I just really like The Other Way. I think this is a solid season. But, again, not A level. Then for the great to watch while you're doing something else, I think we all kind of get why these shows are here at this point. Probably have explained it too many times. But we have 90 Day Fiancé, just the regular OG version, Season 11. Then Bachelor in Paradise, Season 10, which we were rooting for you. We were all rooting. This was supposed to be at least a B. Upsetting. Honestly, probably should have rated it lower. Then we have Married at First Sight, Season 19. It got rebooted by Peacock. That was so exciting to me, but it did let me down a little, unfortunately. But I have hopes that it'll get better. I'm just so glad to be able to watch it on something that isn't like a crappy ad-filled website. Watching it on Peacock made it so much better. It would have actually probably been ranked lower if I had to watch it how I used to have to watch it. Anyway, we have 90 Day Fiancé before the 90 days, the end of Season 7, and then Season 8. Then Seeking Sister Wife, Season 6. Sneaky Links, Dating After Dark, Season 1, a Netflix show. And then Cheat, Unfinished Business, also Season 1. Nothing to really write home about, honestly. But a good thing to watch if you need to, do a bunch of chores, if you need to, power clean your house. Great to have on in the background. And last, the S of this category, we have Love is Blind Season 8 and Season 9. And if you saw them, again, I do not have to explain myself. This was a terrible 2 seasons, especially back-to-back such bad seasons. Season 8, terrible. Awful time. So many episodes sitting in the pods. And then Season 9, none of these people get together. Honestly, really, it didn't even feel plausible any of them would end up together. Terrible. Awful. Throw in the trash. Honestly, maybe should have put it in the cancel it immediately. Maybe I was being too lenient. Next, we have The Bachelor, Season 29. Perfect Match, Season 3. Is She the Wolf? Specifically, Season 1 on Netflix. This is a show that has 13 seasons in Japan. Never seen those. Have only seen the one on Netflix. Love Hotel, the Peacock NBC show with the housewives trying to find love. Not very good. And then Polyfamily Season 1, which I don't even think you have to know what that show is. I think from the name you can be like, yeah, I see that being in the... Because yeah, that's how I felt watching it, just... Overall, I'd say 2025 was an excellent reality TV watching experience, at least for me personally. I watched a lot of really good shows. I felt like I branched out a lot. I took a lot of random recommendations from the internet or just from my actual streaming services recommending stuff, and it was a good time. And I'm going to commit to trying to continue to branch out even farther than I did this year. I got kind of hung up on things like Food Network stars, and I'm going to make a commitment to continuing to like branch out to some weird stuff. I want to get also more into some of the international stuff. I got kind of into it last year. I want to get more into it. And then I want to watch, along with the weird and international, some more game shows maybe. I used to be really into game shows when I was younger, and I've said it before that I was going to try to get in them in previous years, but hopefully this year. Those are my 3 categories that I'd like to expand more into. So if you have any recommendations that fit any of those or overlap any of those, let me know. And if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. It truly means a lot to me. If you've seen my channel before, you know I took a little break. I'm very happy to be back, and I'm very happy if you're here with me. As always, I want to hear your thoughts, feelings, opinions, comments, all that and more down below. I want to hear your best and worsts of 2025. Did you have shows you couldn't stand, things you're waiting to come back, hoping it gets renewed? Let me know all that and more down below. And until then, I'll see you all in the next one.